What up, Nation? It's your boy, Tommy SB. We're back at it again. We got the second part of the doubleheader here at Michigan this weekend. If you're new to the Wise Take Nation, man, check us out, wisetake.com. You got to punch your ticket to Screenshot City. So we're going to dive right in. Today, as we saw with the way that the race kind of panned out, Kevin Harvick was the car that you had to have yesterday. It's like 30% owned. Had 92 laps led in 33 fastest laps. I mean, if you didn't have him in cash or anything, you just weren't cashing. Even though he was starting pretty close to the front, he just was the absolute dominant car. So, at 11.5, I think you're going to be spending up quite a bit for these guys up top. So, I guess we'll get into a little bit of the strategy first before I really start diving into these guys. So these dominators that we have, these guys that are going to be starting inside of the top 10, your Amarolas, your Christopher Bells, your MDBs, your Jimmies, Eric Jones even, Byron Boyer, this is where you're going to be trying to get a little bit different. Like, if you get one of these guys that goes out and leads, anywhere between 10 and 30 laps, they're going to be one of those one dominators that you need as far as getting you that little extra bump to kind of get different in tournaments. I mean, these guys are going to be projected probably somewhere less than 15%, just because there's so much juicy place differential. And then even some of these juicy, expensive guys that have the place differential built in, and also with the, the dominating capability. Kevin Harvick starting 20th. I mean, if he leads 30 laps and finishes inside the top 5, he smashes. So that's what you're going to be looking at. You're going to get weird with these kind of possible dominators and like the Amarolas and the Bells and things like that. Or you're going to take some of these mid-range starting guys like a Bowman, a Newman's, even getting into like Mcdowell and Dillon, Priest. Some of these guys that are only going to need to get you maybe 8 to 10 spots to pay off. And there's a possibility for it. So, you're going to get a little chunk of those. Everybody's going to be pretty, as far as projected ownerships that I've seen, Harvick should probably be north of like 50% in tournaments, and probably closer to 70 or 80% in cash games. I mean, it's hard to stray from. Now, in that retrospect, you decide to go a little bit under on Kevin Harvick because you think he's going to finish in the 15s and 20s and not really dominate this race and crush everybody, then I could see you taking a stand that way too. It's almost like he's kind of an all or nothing play. So, like I said, you're probably playing 0 to 2 dominators, probably 0 to 1 car inside the top 10. Like I said, if you think they're going to get some laps led to get a little bit different, but everything else is going to be almost all place differential. And then, like I said, a little bit of mild kind of dominator built into like these really expensive guys. So, like I said, we'll dive right in. Kevin Harvick, phenomenal play, starting 20th, as I've already said. Denny Hamlin, still going to be popular as well. Harvick, I think, is going to be probably north of that 50% mark. You get a $400 price savings with Denny Hamlin at 11.1, but you lose the 5 place differential spot. So for Denny Hamlin at his price, probably I could see him to make it for you, probably leading 30, 40 laps. Maybe the whole second stage or something like that on a pit strategy or something crazy like that. Is what's going to take him to get him there. I still think he'll probably be somewhere around that 25 to 30% owned. Harvick's going to really take away from these guys, and even though they're still pretty expensive, but just getting them at much drastically lower ownership makes them a little bit more interesting. So you roll right into Martin Truex. Martin, the whole entire race yesterday, you didn't really get to see him race because he had that tire issue in the first stage, and pretty much rode down a lap down until after the second stage when he caught that lucky short caution and was in the lucky dog spot, got his lap back, and then, charged his way all the way up to third. So, Truex, I think, will probably be somewhere around that 20% range. You're probably going to have above $9,400. Kyle Busch and up, you're probably going to have at least 2 guys up here if you're building cash teams for sure. And in tournaments, I think that's still going to be the popular way to go, is just being a little bit top heavy. There's a couple of guys in that 6 to 7K range that you can fill in, and go pretty balanced with the rest of your build, even though you're going pretty heavy on the top. So, Truex probably less popular than Hamlin and Harvick, but still fairly popular. Kind of a way to get different. You do like the $300 price savings you get on Hamlin. As compared to Truex, and you said you're not asking as much out of him. Top 5 finish, he gets there for you. Keselowski, I think, will be even more popular than Truex, probably a little bit, just because you're getting the extra spot. And Keselowski finished second yesterday. Was a fairly good car all day. Got you a 51. At 10K, I'm pretty happy with a 50. He started kind of in the same boat. He started 5th, finished 2nd. So, you're getting me 19. I'm looking at hopefully anywhere between 10 and 15 place differential spots to get you there. And anything with some laps led, I think, is just going to take him over the top for you as well. Joey Logano starting 13th. He crushed me yesterday. I was heavy on him. I'm like, you're on the pole, Penske-built track, you're in a Penske car. This is going to be great news for a Penske car, and you guys are going to go all the way to the front and crush. What does he do? Doesn't lead anything. So it just killed me. Now I'm getting him starting 13th. I'd rather play these 4 guys above him or even the next 3 guys below him probably. So Joey, I think, is going to be fairly low owned just because people are going to say, if you do what he did yesterday. So that's what makes him, a little bit interesting. If you're going to get Logano at like 10% ownership, it makes him a little bit more interesting. But they're going to have to do a lot of changes to that car to get that car, I think, better than it was yesterday. And it just wasn't good. It only got me a 37 yesterday at $9,700, and now I have to pay $500 more for him. 18 laps led was not enough, and neither was 7 fastest laps. Even at this price, you're going to need him to either finish in the top 3 or go out and get you, a good handful of Dominator points and say a top 5. If he gets more Dominator points, top 10 finish. But I don't know, tough road for him there. And I think, like I said, with Ryan Blaney being right underneath him, Blaney's been super, super fast consistently. You're getting him starting 17th. Blaney yesterday when I got you a 58 at 10.6. I'm getting him at $700 cheaper. Like, why the hell not? You like the place differential upside. You like the mild Dominator possibilities for Blaney. Getting from 17th. There's a lot of slower cars in front of these guys. So organically, I think these guys should pick 7, 8 spots pretty quickly. Getting past like your Buschers, your Christopher Bells, MDB, stuff like that are going to be in front of them. So it's a little weird with that. So Blaney, again, I think is going to be super popular. He's easy enough. He's probably one of the lower priced and kind of plug and plays if you're playing 2 of these expensive guys. Then we roll into Chase Elliott. Chase Elliott should be pretty popular tomorrow as well, starting 14th, probably somewhere in that 20 to 25% range, just because, again, you're hoping for either a top 3, top 5 finish, and maybe, like I said, a few Dominator points. So that's what you're asking out of him. He's another one of those guys that at like 20 to 25% ownership could crush you as well. So you got to kind of figure out which direction you want to go with Chase. You're going to go over, instead of playing the 25% everybody else is, you're playing 30, 40 because you're thinking the top 5, or you're playing 10, 15 if you think he's only going to get you a few spots and just not crush you. Kyle Busch, looked really good yesterday. Was running in the top 2, top 3 quite a bit, and with that late race kind of incident, I don't think there's any contact between him and Harvick when he was running, for the lead. But still, I think probably would have been a top 3 car, still scraped out of top 5. Now you get him starting 16th. It's still a little bit scary. I think it's less scary than it's been, for sure. But still, he'll probably garnish a decent amount of ownership, like 20%. Now, had this been Kyle Busch of 2019 and he was starting 16th, he'd be garnishing like 35 or 40%. So you can really see how the way his season's gone has kind of really limited his, limited his price tag, limited his price, and limited, people's exposure to him, just because he still kind of is like a dart throw. He goes out there early and is in the middle of this pack, and we get a wreck in the middle. He could easily get wrapped up in it and crush, 20% of the field. So again, he's going to be one of these guys, kind of as we get into this price range, into the, 9,400 and lower. That's when you start kind of getting a little bit different. So, Kyle Busch still kind of safe. You're hoping for a top 5, maybe a little bit more finish or some Dominator points out of him with a top 5, top 10 finish. So, that's like I said, he's one of those mild place differential Dominator combos you're looking for. So just real quick, I'll get Lewis's question. Lejoy or Balicki at a single entry, Lejoy. Bilicki's, I mean, you're taking super safety with the starting in the very, very back, 39th, but Lejoy has the potential to finish around where he started, and I don't think Bilicki's going to gain more than 3-4 spots unless we get a lot of wrecks. So I think Lejoy's got a better chance of hitting than Bilicki, but it's still, you're kind of that's a lower dart though. I don't think I'd go any lower than Lejoy unless I had to. So we keep going back up here. So we were at Kyle Busch. Yes, like I said, really now you start getting into the Amarolas and the Bells. Amarola starting 5th because he finished 15th yesterday. Was not really that fast, somewhere around mid-pack, 20th in like green flag speed. So Amarola, your hope for Amarola at $9,200, that he's able to go out there and probably lead you 10, 15, 20 laps somehow. They make some right adjustments on his car, and he's able to get you a little bit of, a few spots, and then, lead some laps and then probably finish around here if he gets lucky. It's in the equipment that can do it, but I think you're going to get him, like I said, at super low ownership, and these are the 1 to 2 guys in your lineup that you're going to have to kind of get a little bit different. If you're going to take 2 dominators, that's being very different. Or if you take one of these potential dominators and one of these kind of mid-starting guys that you're hoping for 8 to 10 spots from because of their price, and you're going to get them at sub 15% ownership, like I said, is where you're going to have to be getting a little bit different, because the plays like Harvick and all these expensive guys are just going to be so popular that teams are going to practically build themselves. You're not going to have to try too hard if you take some of the value that's going to be chalk and just keep your fingers crossed that they make it. So, like I said, Amarola probably sub 5% ownership. Which, like I said, you only hope for 10, 15 to 20 laps, and then a top 10 finish for him at 92. Same thing, Christopher Bell. You do get a few spots of place differential built into there, but again, probably sub 5% owned. Definitely probably wouldn't play the 2 of them together unless you're trying to get real different, because they're still kind of pricey. Then we roll into Kurt Busch, 11th. Of these, the guys that I've gone over so far, Amarola and Kyle Busch, Christopher Bell, he's my favorite. Probably of these 5 guys right here in the $86 to $9,200 range, Kurt Busch is probably my favorite. Still only probably going to see 10% or so ownership, but you're getting 11th. So for Kurt, we're hoping for, say a top 5 finish at $8,800 gets you there, or somehow get some dominator points and get you there. 35 is not going to crush for us at $8,800, but it's also not going to kill you. So it's kind of safe if you had that kind of money, and that's where you're trying to get different. Is with Kurt Busch, is probably the safer to get weird options. MDB, again, you're just getting a little bit of a price shake. Probably also, like I said, right around that 5% in the range. And again, you're hoping for a handful of laps led and, finish around where he started, which is potentially doable. Like I said, it's not going to be the easiest road to get there, but it's something that could happen. And like I said, he'd be one of those, 5% low kind of hammers that crush for you. In this price range, Alex Bowman, starting 21st, is probably, by far of all the 5 guys above him are safer at $8,400. You're getting a $1,000 price difference between him and Kyle Busch. You're getting him starting 21st. If he finishes top 10, it pays off for you. I mean, we started 6th, finished 21st. He kind of crushed you yesterday. But, that wasn't really the tail of the tape. He was running decent until he kind of got into some issues late. He was a top 10 car most of the day. So I think he was 8th in green flag speed. If you go out and get me 10, 12 spots because of that green flag speed, I'm excited for that at $8,400, and it makes it so I don't have to play if you're building like a cash team, and you got $8,400 for your last guy. He's an easy, plug and play with that just because he's safe. Probably going to be another guy that's 25 to 30% owned. So, you're going to see these large shifts. If any of these really chalk guys bust, you're going to see these massive shifts in where people are ranking. Say Alex Bowman's running 5th and you're smashing, and then he gets a little bit of tire wear issue late and ends up finishing 21st again. It just absolutely crushed you. It wouldn't be as crushing as he was yesterday, finishing 21st. I probably would have had a little bit more interest in him had he just got that one more spot and finished 20th and then started on the pole. just because he was running pretty decent. I probably would have had a lot more of him if that was the case. But starting 21st, I do like that as well. But, is he going to get into, say, the top probably 12 or so is what you're looking for out of him, close to 10 spots at $8,400. Next, we roll into Jimmy Johnson, starting 9th. Started kind of from the back yesterday with some issues, and then was able to work his way back up and finish 11th. Was top 10 in green flag speed, really good on passes coming from the back to the front. That being said, even though he started in the back, he still got his 39 fantasy points at $8,200, almost 5x. You're playing Jimmy again if you think he's a sneaky dominator. Again, probably just like the other guys above, even Bowman and a little bit of MVB, you get into your Bushes and Bells, he's going to be low owned like them. And it's another one of those ways you can get different at $8,200. Of the guys starting in the top 10, Eric Jones does give you the most place differential upside, coupled with potential dominator at $8,000. I mean, Eric Jones doesn't even really need to dominate to get you there. I could see him going out leading 15, 20 laps somehow early, maybe somehow work his way through the end of the first stage and get like the last 10 to 15 laps and then go and finish inside the top 10 to get you there. Like I said, he'll probably be 25 to 30%. He'll probably be somewhere in that 15 to 20% range. So it's like with Jones, it's one of those guys you can take a stand on, I think. It's like if he's going to be 15% and you think Jones is going to finish 15th or 16th or 17th and fall back a little bit because he's going to have issues, then you could completely fade the dude and make a really big shift on the field. Or you're going to say, nah, Eric Jones has got a little bit of dominator upside. I think he's going to finish in the top 5 at $8,000. I'm going to go like 25 or 30% on him. It's one of those guys you could easily take a stand on, and it'd be what you need to move, a grouping of your entries around, just because I said the rest of your team is going to be pretty easy to build. William Byron, again, another one of these guys that's going to be lower owned just because, he's starting 7th. Like I said, his ownership is going to be minuscule just because you're going to need him to dominate. Byron probably around that 5%. Again, if you're playing one of these top 10 cars, 1, maybe 2 if you're taking Jones and maybe one other person. If you take maybe a Jones and a Clint Boyer when we get to him, just because it's second place, you get a little bit of dominator, not a whole ton out of it. So, you've got that as well. So after William Byron rolling to Clint Boyer, $7,600 on DraftKings, starting second. For him to get you there, you're looking for Clint Boyer to go out and lead the first stage of this race, or a good chunk of the first stage. And that'll kind of offset where he probably is going to finish. He was 18th yesterday, finished 19th yesterday, sorry. Got you 15 fantasy points, crushed us the last 2 races. But at $7,600, you go out and give me a 35 or a 40. From what you've done before, I'll take it. If there's a shot for Clint Boyer to lead some laps this year, this is the race. I think he'll probably still garnish 15, 20% ownership just because he's cheap. He's like the cheapest of the dominators I'd be willing to probably play. But he's kind of going to get passed over because of the next 2 guys we're about to talk to, in Cole Custer and Ricky Steinhaus Jr. Cole Custer probably going to be close to 50% just because he's starting so far back. But again, Cole Custer, this is where you got to really look into this chalk and what you're going to do with it. You think Cole Custer is not good enough to get from 34th into, say, the top 15, then at $7,500, you could turn around and say, okay, the field's going to be at 50%. What am I doing with that? Is this the guy that I'm taking a stand on, and this is where I'm going to get really different than everybody else, and play either very little of him or play like 50% of him at $7,500? So, I think he's going to come in there probably second or third to Harvick just because he's cheap. If you started off your basic builds with Cole Custer and Kevin Harvick, it still leaves you with $7,800. You could still easily take a Keselowski, and kind of start rolling into some of these cheaper options that you like. Even into the $6K range. Ricky Stenhouse at $7,300 is beautiful. take some Austin Dillon at 6,500. Like I said, it's going to be pretty easy. Then you get John Hunt, Nemechek, Mcdowell, all these kind of budget plays you can kind of really get in there. Build your teams around, depending on how you're going to build your teams, that way. Clint Boyer, you're hoping he leads early. Cole Custer and Ricky Stenhouse, both probably some of the most popular options in this range. Like I said, they're just Ricky Stenhouse was going to get us there yesterday. Was running really good until the end of that race, and then it just kind of went to crap for him. I think he was probably inside top 12. He was 12th in green flag speed. Ricky Stenhouse goes out and gets me 20 spots. That's $7,300. He's crushing for you. Stenhouse will probably be around that 30% range. Still super popular. And again, he's going to take down a huge chunk of the field if he messes up. Or if you play him heavy, like 50%, it's going to give you good leverage on building the rest of your teams and being able to potentially get that optimal lineup if you're doing mass entry by taking huge stands on people like Ricky Stenhouse, like way under or way over. Matt Kenseth, as we've gotten all these guys inside of the top 10, super, super, super sneaky. Kenseth, you're hoping somehow on the first start of the race is able to go from the second row to the first row and go out and lead you 15, 20 laps, or lead you a bunch more and then be able to offset where he's probably going to finish. Kenseth, another driver that could be sneaky because one of those guys that says, hey, I missed practice. I want practice. So I could see you getting in there with, trying to take a stand potentially on him starting fourth. If you're taking a stand on him, like I said, you need laps led or, an extremely solid finish. If he doesn't lead any laps, he's got to finish inside of the top 7, 8 probably to pay off. Or if he leads some laps, he can finish closer to the top 10. Ryan Newman, starting 28th, potentially going to a backup car. I can't believe I didn't cover that in the beginning of the race. So, as we already know, Custer, Reddick, and John Hunter Nemechek are already in backup cars. Ricky Stenhouse, potentially backup car. Doesn't hurt him. He's already starting 32nd anyways. Same thing with John Hunter Nemechek starting in the back anyways. Custer and Reddick. Reddick pretty much kills if he goes to the backup car. Starting third, which we'll get into him here pretty close soon. And again, Custer was already starting so far back, it doesn't hurt him as well. So that's what we got with those guys. Newman, again, so Newman's ownership, I don't think is going to be crazy, probably 15 to 20%. Again, one of those guys you can kind of get a little bit different. You're hoping for Newman at 7K to go out and get you maybe a top 15 finish, top 12, top 13 is what's going to have him really crush for you. 15 to 20% owned. Again, so if you do a mass entry, are you going to take a stand and go 30%, 35%, maybe a little over because you think he's going to finish inside of the top 15 and you want to have a good base? Or are you going to go like 10% because you just don't think it's there? We got Jim Parrish. Would I play Matt B or Kens? I'm guessing Kenseth. I played Matty D before I played Kenseth, but like I said, probably no more than one of those guys under lineup at a time. Tyler Reddick starting third. If he goes to the backup car, absolutely just Xing out of your anything 20 entry or less. If you want to put him on a team or two, it's $6,900. Probably just needs to get you a top 5, but if he's going to come all the way from the back, it's a tough road ahead of him for that one, so I don't know if I'd play him at all. Just keep an eye out on that. Chris Buescher, kind of the same thing. Chris Buescher, I think, is going to be super low owned. For Chris Buescher to get you there, you're hoping he probably leads you 15 to 20 laps right off the gate. Brand new tires, starts this race, does that, and then probably finishes inside of the top 10, 12. 10 to 15, I think, is probably a good day for him. As far as finishing outside of the top 20, he's probably got a better shot of happening, depending on how he's running. He did finish 20th yesterday, so, again, he's one of those guys you could get different. $6,700. He is the absolute cheapest potential dominator. At $6,700. That would be, like I said, really the only reason I'd even potentially go. They're probably going to be like 5% owned. I said, in tournaments, having a dominator in your build is probably going to be what's making you a little bit different. And the more dominators you have, that's going to get even more different. Austin Dillon, starting 31st. Another one of these probably super chalky options at $6,500 starting 31st. Had some issues late. But was a solid car. Might go to the backup car, but again, starting 31st, it doesn't hurt me. Team was good. Able to make up some stuff on pit lane and your strategy calls, but the late race tire I think he had was what took him back to 31st, and at $6,500, you're hoping for a top 20 finish at that price, which is completely doable for Austin Dillon. Started 23rd, finished 13th at Foxwoods Casino 2 weeks ago, and got you 45. Or same thing with the O'Reilly Auto Parts. So that's what you're looking for at Austin. I think he's going to be popular, like I said. But again, one of those guys you can potentially take a stand at, probably 35% owned. And if you think Austin Dillon has a bad day, that's where you take 15% or so of him. He's going to have a good day, go 50%. If you're building small entries, like a solid base guy. John Hunter Nemechek, same thing. I think he's going to be really popular. Starting 36th. But the dude brought out like 3 cautions yesterday. Man, it was horrible. You feel like it can't get any worse than that when you're getting him at $6,400. Again, probably somebody that's going to be close to like 25 or 30% owned, if not more, and is going to either crush people or is going to be what takes people to the promised land. For John Hunter at $6,400, if John Hunter gets you a 20, the low 20, you're probably cashing checks. And anything greater than that's just going to be why you wish you had 50, 60, 70, 80, 100% of them. For cash, he's pretty safe. He's one of those guys that if you're in cash, you can take a stand on because you think he's going to crush everybody else. But again, you're going to definitely want to get some exposure to him. Michael Mcdowell starting 29th. You get a $200 price difference, but you're losing 7 spots. For Mcdowell to probably get you there, you're going to have to get inside of the teens. Probably 10 spots at $6,200. So if you're afraid of the Nemechek train, you could easily pivot off of him and take the $200 price difference and get Michael Mcdowell. Again, probably McDowell's going to be probably popular somewhere probably in that 25 to 30% range probably because he is cheap. He's one of these clear-cut value guys that helps you really get really top-heavy. So I think he's going to slip into a lot of builds. Bubba Wallace starting 12th. If your other 5 drivers are solid and you're like, all right, I got to get different somewhere and I got $6,100 left, Bubba Wallace would be worth taking a shot at. The guy finished 8th yesterday. Was phenomenal. Put you up, I think, a 50. Got us a 50 yesterday. Started 24th, finished 9th. For him to get there, Bubba Wallace, you probably just need 4, 5, 6 spots. Somewhere close to a top 5, top 8 finish probably would get you there at $6,000. I mean, 6X is only a 36, so if he finishes even where he started, he's pretty close to that. So you don't need a whole lot out of him. Probably going to be less than 10% owned. So another guy you could potentially take a stand on because you're just not asking a whole lot out of him. At $5,900, we got Daniel Suarez starting 24th. I think that's about the best he could possibly finish, and with a lot of faster cars, I think, coming from behind him, I think the downside is definitely higher. But again, another one of these kind of cheap options where you're hoping that Suarez can finish around there, maybe gain a spot or 2, finish 21st, 22nd. I think he'd get you there at $5,900 and be really low owned. Ty Dillon, probably the safer of these options for sure. It's just a better equipment. Starting 23rd. For him, you really just need to sneak into the top 20, which where he's starting, you like the possible just only have to move a few spots. Would have liked him a lot deeper. If he would have been 25th, 26th, 27th, I probably would have been all over him at $5,700. But still a solid, cheaper play. Ryan Preece starting 25th. 20th in green flag speed yesterday. if he could do that again today and finish, if he could give me a couple of spots at $5,600, I could see again you taking some stands down here. Brendan Poole probably be the last guy I'd even look at. Well, Joyce. We'll talk about Poole and Lejoy last. So Priest, he's probably going to be close to 15 to 20% owned. But again, man, Priest is like the new Ricky Stenhouse. If he finishes the race, he should be okay to get you the 5-6 spots you're asking for. But his chances of wrecking out of this race are just as high, if not higher. He's gotten us some solids. I'd take a 30 at $5,600 like he got you yesterday. He's one of the cheap guys at $5,800 and the 42 at $5,600. But as you've seen, we had an 11 and a negative 11, 30 to 0. Like, the downside 0, 0, negative 5. I mean, you're still taking a swing. Priest is just, from a fantasy perspective, super hit or miss, and you don't like the 25th. Had you got him deeper, he'd probably be more interesting. But he's one of those guys at 20%. You're building 20 teams. Are you going to let him just take 20% of the field down and you're going to have 0 of them? Or are you going to take a little bit of stand and maybe go a little bit over, maybe get him closer to that 25 or 30% mark? But again, scary. Brendan Poole, you're only taking him if you got $5,400 back and you're like, I just want one more hopeful place differential guy, or I think there's going to be a lot of wrecks and Poole can finish, say, 30th at $5,400. Maybe he gets you there. You probably need 7 to 10 spots probably to make him optimal. But again, probably sub 5% ownership. You can go there. Don't need no Yaley starting 26th. I expect him to finish with a 30 in front of his score, so I don't need the negative place differential. Corey LaJoy, another guy that's probably going to be sub 10%, but you can get a little different with him. $5,100 starting 22nd. You're not asking a whole ton out of LaJoy. A top 15 finish, probably even 3-4 spots would probably be enough to get you there. $5,100. And really, again, lets you help build really top heavy. Sorensen, Timmy Hill, Balicki, Davidson, and Quinn Houff. If I can get away with it, no. I build the other 5 drivers, and I got $4,700. You could take a dart throw with Balicki or Davison if you think it's going to be wrecky, and you're just going to hit the 5 drivers that survive the front. And these guys organically get you 8 to 10 spots with cars being knocked out of the field. So that's where you're going to probably want to go with that. It's, again, still risky with those guys starting from the back because, again, I don't think there's going to be a ton of wrecks, but we'll see what's going on. You got David says Blaney, Kyle Busch, Custer, Austin Dillon, Harvick, and Lejoy. Again, that's going to be a really, really, really popular build. If that ends up crushing and you get first place, expect to be tied with about 100 people. But again, it's return on investment, so I'll take that. Got Hunter Dobbs, Harvick, Blaney, Hamlin. Need 3 more. Let's check that one out for you. Harvick, Blaney, and Hamlin. So you went heavy. All right. That really hurts us. Now I can see that getting there because you got a lot of organic place differential. So we got 5,800. Let's try a John Hunter Nemechek. You're going to probably have to take McDowell. And then, your hand is really forced. I don't like the fact that you'd have to play somebody super, super cheap down here. It's tough. You'd probably be better off trying to maybe move either your Blaney or your Hamlin. I mean, they're all phenomenal plays, but to squeeze in a little bit more cash. Take out Nemechek. Be really dart throw with Priest. Maybe I think the race gets a little bit wrecky. I mean, you could try to stab in Brendan Poole, but again, I hate how hard your hand is forced with these other 3 drivers. I mean, you're in the 6K range roughly, so it makes it really hard to build your teams around that. I think you should try to take 2 of these guys, of these top 3. And like I said, if your third dominator is going to be where you're going to want to try to get a little bit different, say, you take out Hamlin and you throw in yourself like Clint Boyer, because you think Clint Boyer can lead 20-30 laps. I think that's where you're going to have to go if you're going to go what I would consider 3 somewhat potential dominators. So much talk how I get different GPPs. Maybe Eric Jones. Again, Eric Jones I think is probably going to be in a 50% range, 15% range. That's, again, I like I said, he's one of those guys you could easily take a stand on. Jones starting 10th at his price tag. You got to figure out exactly who's where you're going to get different. If he gets you Eric Jones at 15%, and Eric Jones goes out and finishes top 3, he smashes for you at 15% ownership. Let me see if I can get those cars to the rear today. Like I said, there's quite a few. There we go. Research quite a bit in the article here. Austin Dillon to the rear. Austin Dillon, I don't think it really hurts him too much. He was starting pretty deep in the field anyways. Double check that. Austin Dillon. Yeah, Austin Dillon starting 31st. Doesn't really hurt him too much. Ryan Newman hurts him a little bit more than Austin Dillon, but still not too much. He was starting 28th. Tyler Reddick, easy enough fade, starting 3rd. Eric Almirola going to the rear, starting. Eric Almirola starting inside the top 5. Might be another easy X out in small field stuff, but at $9,200, you're going to need some laps led. I think it's going to be a tough road for him. If he's going to get you any dominator points. Let's keep going there. We'll start from updated, but so Amarola's to the rear. That's going to really crush him. Michael Mcdowell, that hurts him quite a bit because we had Michael Mcdowell in the 30s. Mcdowell was in the 20s, I believe. Again, so you're doing these small entries. McDowell 29 hurts him a little bit. Like I said, McDowell is probably going to be 25 to 30%. Maybe he'll be 18 to 20% now, just because people are like, he's got to make up a few more spots, so you can still play him. Ryan Preece, John Hunter, Nemechek, and Cole Custer. All the rookies to the rear. John Hunter, Nemechek, we already knew, doesn't hurt him at all. Cole Custer, same thing, doesn't hurt him at all. And then Ryan Preece, starting 25th. I think it hurts him probably the most out of those rookies, for sure. Preece having to make up, theoretically 8 to 10 spots just to get back where he started, I think is going to scare him a little bit. Brennan Poole to the rear didn't make any difference anyways. And the number 7, go to the rear. Transition has changed. Joey Gase to Josh Palicki. So Joey Gase, Josh Palicki, they were in the rear anyways. Doesn't really hurt you. So quite a few cars that went to the rear, but again, I don't think it's going to be, like I said, if you're doing 20 entry max, you could probably limit your player pool this week down to like 22 or 23 if you're trying to go pretty balanced. And then maybe even take these potential dominators if you're using a optimizer. Throw these top 10 guys in a folder and say 0 to 1. And then take those potential dominators coupled with the place differential, your expensive guys. Like I said, your Harvicks, your Hamlins, your Truexes, your Blaney's. Put those guys in a box and say, 1 to 3, preferably 2 to 3 of these guys, and help it kind of let it get different for you just in the middle. You're going to have some of these guys in the middle that are going to be pretty chalky, and let it kind of build those, and then you set your limitations on these other guys in the middle, and let it just get a little bit different for you. I got some good questions coming in, guys, man. I got 33 of you guys watching. I only got 4 thumbs up, man. So make sure you guys hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, man. We're here for you every week. We got a super busy August. We've got, like I said, we've got the road course at Daytona, never been seen before. We got another Daytona Super Speedway race, only a 400-mile race, but again, it's a super speedway, so the variance is in the guy starting in the back or the rear. So it's really these drivers that are outside of the playoffs. This is it for them. Like, it's getting super down to the wire. So we'll go over a little bit of that with some of the strategy with that. The guys that aren't safe right now are Amarola's in 11th, no win. Kurt Busch
12th, Kyle Busch 13th, Clint Bowyer 14th, MDB 15th, William Byron 16th. These guys are the ones that either need a win or just need to continue to finish solid to be able to stay in. And then Eric Jones outside the cut line, Jimmy Johnson outside the cut line, Bubba Wallace, Tyler Reddick, Ricky Stenhouse, Chris Buescher. These guys need wins. So you can see some of these guys taking some swings for the fences, trying to get a few spots, in the playoff points by trying to make a good strategy call and kind of squeeze it in there for you. So where are we going to go with that? Harvick, Blaney, Hamlin. So we're on over 100 Dobbs. JJ says, so much talk, how you getting different in GPPs. Like I said, I don't think you have to get super different. It's just how many of those, probably two of those guys over 30% is going to be where you start. It's just which two. And then the rest of it should hopefully try to build itself around that. If you want to get different, like I said, only take one and then try to get really balanced with the middle, and then doesn't force you to go into the bargain basement. Or you can get a little bit different by taking three and then ending up only with a few bucks left. But I would say if you're going to take three of these place differential / dominators that in the expensive, over 8,500 price range for all three, especially if you're going like two guys in the tens, I think you need to be different with your third cheaper piece. You know what I'm saying? Like if somebody wanted, like I said, a Harvick and a Hamlin, I think it's going to force your hand down here to like a Clint Bowyer at $7,600, then probably Cole Custer. And again, you're going to end up with a little bit of money. John Hunter at 64. And then maybe you could take a stab with a Poole, a Priest, or a Ty Dillon and to get a little bit different with the rest of it, and that allows you to kind of crush in the top. So again, that's where you're probably going to get your hands forced on most builds. But like I said, getting different. Yeah, Eric Jones, I do, like I said, the different on JJJ. Eric Jones is a good play for getting a little different. Jim Parrish, would I play Keselowski? Keselowski's a phenomenal play as well. Like I said, you're getting him 19th. And if you're trying to build top heavy again, it's a little bit easier to take, a Harvick and a Keselowski, and then, like I said, go down to somebody like a Clint Bowyer at 7,600, grab a Cole Custer at 60, and then it doesn't force your hand as hard. You take Nemechek at $6,400. I could still take even Austin Dillon starting 31st, and something like that is super comfortable to me. If you're going really, really top heavy, like I said, if you're hoping Bowyer goes out leads 15, 20. These guys either get you a top 5 or a win with some dominator points, and then just take the safety of the place differential on your three cheap plays, because this is where you're getting a little bit different is here, and maybe even a little bit different with even Austin Dillon or John Hunter on the flip side of your lineup there. So yeah, I got Jim. Best play on FanDuel, probably still Kevin Harvick. Let me roll through over here. Get some FanDuel for you guys this week. Think we'll ever load up. I don't know what's going on with FanDuel for me lately. It's slow. Get the other questions, and we'll start looking through FanDuel as well. Kyle Busch. I believe Kyle Busch is somewhere in that 20 to 23%, I think, probably with some of these guys. A couple of these guys automatically are already gaining, I think, 2 spots because of Reddick and another car going to the back. So, yeah, I can see that moving to 23. I think I had him at like 18 to 20. But, yeah, he's going to be popular. But, again, he's one of those guys that could easily burn 25% of the field. So, where are you going to go with that? Got Brian Barge. How good is Ty Dillon? You love the place differential upside with Ty Dillon starting 23rd. I'd probably play his brother Austin over him for sure. But if that's all you got left, he's one of those kind of mediocre dart throws. Probably at 10 to 15% because you need him at $5,700 to finish about where he started. But it's really hard. So, like I said, you can see where you get Dudley Cassie, best 3 lock picks. I'll split that up for you. I'll give him my top three guys probably in that expensive range where you're gonna be spending up. Probably Kevin Harvick, Brad Keselowski, Denny Hamlin would be the 1, 2, 3. Truex not too far behind. And then Blaney again, not too far behind them. It's all pretty close for that third one if you're ranking them up there. And then top 3, I'll give you some value plays. You like Austin Dillon starting 31st. You like John Hunter. You like Mcdowell. As far as those guys that are super duper cheap in the low 6K range. And then you like Steinhaus and Custer at the low 7K range for sure. Like I said, with these cheaper price tags, kind of helps your teams build a little easier. You want to go grab yourself a Steinhaus and a Custer as your base. Now you got $8,800 to play with up top. These guys fairly safe. You want to spend down a little bit, and you're like, nah, all right, I'm going to take some Keselowski. I think Harvick's only going to finish top 10 and not lead too much. Somehow I'm taking a swing on him not doing it. Go get yourself some Kyle Busch if you think he can get himself a top 5 finish. You still got a lot of money to play with. You still got $7,700 left for your last 2. You can take an Eric Jones at 8K if you think he can get out and dominate. Still leaves you with $7,300. You can get yourself into some Newman, or even spend way down to John Hunter, still leaving $900. It allows you to come off even Kyle Busch if you don't think he's safe, and grab yourself Blaney. You're getting Blaney from 17th. It's going to be really easy to kind of, like I said, build your teams around that, taking one of these cheap guys and then bounce it back. That was for Dudley. Dylan Evans, thoughts on Jimmy? Jimmy, I think, is going to be pretty low owned, probably sub 10%. But again, somewhere you can get a little bit different. You hope Jimmy either leads a couple of laps of this race or is able to squeeze out a top 3, top 5 finish at $8,200. So again, you can play really safe and have him be your different piece. You're trying to do a little bit weird. So I don't hate him, but don't love him either. I mean, if you're building 2-3 teams, it's easy enough to just kind of glance over if you're trying to play safe or cash. Jim Parrish, on my thoughts on Bowman. With Bowman, you're starting 21st. Bowman, you're hoping at $8,400 gets you close to the top 10. I think he'll be popular, because he's one of the safer kind of mid-starting guys that can get you some place differential. But again, he's still also scary. He'll probably be like 30%, but again, you're taking stands on him in tournaments, so you're going like 15% because you think it's going to be a Bowman day just so that you can get the rest of your lineups away from him. Or you going, like I said, 35, 40% because you think he's going to finish inside the top 10. So, so we got Niles, Simmons, besides Harvick and Denny Hamlin. Who else could be a potential winner? Truex could be a potential winner. Chase, MPB or Amarola could be really, really sneaky. Maybe put $1 on those guys at some crazy odds. Put Boyer even. As far as winning, though, I probably would. I mean, it's pretty safe that Harvick, Hamlin, Truex, Elliott, even Kyle Busch. It's not safe, but taking fingers crossed with him. If Kyle Busch just needs to finish inside of the top 5, maybe that's a good one. Jim Parrish, any logo? I'm thinking you're saying Logano. Like Logano in tournaments for you, if you're playing, it's like if you're building 20 teams, you're either going to have 4 or 5 teams with Logano because you think he's going to get you a top 3 finish or some dominator points, or you're completely fading him on a 20 entry max starting 13th. I don't think Logano's going to be crazy. Probably, like I said, 10% owned, and it's easy enough to X out if you're doing small entry, but he could be that guy that turns around and stabs you in the back because he made all the right moves today. Finished 8th yesterday, but didn't look good. He started the pole and crushed my feelings yesterday. So, the wounds are real, but again, might have to go back there. So, like I said, hit us up at the Wise Take Nation, man. I'm your boy Tommy Shake and Bake. You can get me at Kart Racing _22 on Instagram. I work for the Wise Take Nation. We do all sports, man. We've been crushing it. MLB, our fearless leader, C. Cano, had a great day yesterday. He punched his ticket to Screenshot City. I know our boy Paulie D punched his ticket to Screenshot City yesterday. I know my boy Shockey, that usually does the NASCAR shows, he's been killing it on golf and Counter-Strike Go, crushing it. So that's what we do with the Wise Take Nation, man. We're a family. That's what we're here for. We try to keep everybody close. The Slack chat's dope. You get that with either the monthly subscription or above. We got all sports packages, man. Come check us out, man. wisetake.com. RW, Austin Dillon, Nemechek, Mcdowell, Custer, Austin Dillon, and Lejoy. Austin Dillon. Oh, okay. You can go either way on that one, man. Those are both pretty solid either way. I like Austin Dillon on both sides. Nemechek and Custer are both pretty solid. Going left or right, it's which one of the two of those I think you think makes it to the end. And McDowell and Lejoy. McDowell, you like the starting spot. Lejoy, start a little far forward, could be more sneaky, but you could go either way on both of those lineups for sure, man. So this is going to wrap it up for me, man. So like I said, hit us up at Kart Racing _22 if you're on the Wise Take Nation. Hit me up in the Slack, answer those questions, man. And let's punch our tickets to Screenshot City, guys.
Yeah.